The eyes of the world turn to Canada. The nation is on the brink of a pivotal election. Global tensions are running high. Canadians will decide their future on April 28, 2025. The outcome will have significant implications both domestically and internationally. This election will determine Canada's next leader. It will shape the country's economic trajectory. It will also define Canada's response to a world increasingly marked by uncertainty. The stakes have never been higher for this peaceful and prosperous nation. Canada has long been a beacon of stability and progress on the world stage. Its commitment to democracy, human rights, and international cooperation has earned it respect globally. However, the world is facing unprecedented challenges. Climate change, geopolitical instability, and economic nationalism threaten the international order. The Canadian people face a critical choice. Will they stay the course, or will they chart a new path? The world is watching with bated breath. The decisions made in this election will have far-reaching consequences. Three main contenders are vying for the position of Prime Minister. Each brings a distinct vision for Canada's future. The frontrunners are Mark Carney of the Liberal Party, Pierre Poilievre of the Conservative Party, and Jagmeet Singh of the New Democratic Party. Mark Carney, a seasoned economist and former central banker, presents himself as a steady hand in turbulent times. He is campaigning on a platform of economic stability, social progressivism, and strong international alliances. Carney's global experience and reputation as a financial expert have resonated with many Canadians concerned about the country's economic prospects. Pierre Poilievre, the Conservative leader, offers a starkly different vision. He advocates for smaller government, deregulation, and tax cuts. Poilievre has tapped into a vein of discontent among some Canadians who feel left behind by globalization and social change. His populist rhetoric and promises of economic prosperity have galvanized a segment of the electorate. Jagmeet Singh, leader of the NDP, faces an uphill battle. His party, traditionally associated with social justice and workers' rights, has struggled to gain traction in this election. Singh has attempted to position himself as a progressive alternative to both Carney and Poilievre, but his message has been overshadowed by the intense focus on the two frontrunners. The race remains tight. The outcome hinges on which leader can convince Canadians that they have the best plan to navigate the challenges ahead. No discussion of Canadian politics in 2025 would be complete without mentioning the elephant in the room, Donald Trump. The former U.S. president's shadow looms large over this election. His rhetoric and policies have cast a long shadow over Canada-U.S. relations. Trump's repeated threats to annex Canada, while widely seen as outlandish, have nevertheless stoked anxieties among Canadians. His protectionist trade policies, including tariffs on Canadian goods, have also had a tangible impact on the Canadian economy. Both Carney and Poilievre have rebuked Trump's interference in Canadian affairs. They have vowed to stand up for Canadian interests. However, their approaches differ significantly. Carney has adopted a more diplomatic tone, emphasizing the importance of dialogue and cooperation. Poilievre has taken a more confrontational stance, accusing Carney of being weak and vowing to take a hard line with the U.S. Trump's presence in the background adds another layer of complexity to an already fraught election. His actions have forced Canadians to confront fundamental questions. These questions are about their relationship with their southern neighbor and their place in the world. The Canadian economy is a major issue in this election. The global economic landscape is uncertain. Canadians are grappling with rising living costs. They are also worried about the future. The COVID-19 pandemic had a profound impact on the Canadian economy. It led to widespread job losses and business closures. While the economy has begun to recover, many Canadians are still feeling the effects. They are struggling to make ends meet. The rising cost of living is a major concern for many Canadians. Housing prices have skyrocketed in recent years, making it difficult for many to afford a place to live. Inflation is also on the rise, eroding the purchasing power of Canadians' hard-earned dollars. The candidates have different approaches to addressing these economic challenges. Carney has promised to invest in infrastructure, education, and clean energy to create jobs and stimulate the economy. Poilievre has pledged to cut taxes and reduce regulations, arguing that this will unleash economic growth and benefit all Canadians. Singh has focused on increasing the minimum wage, expanding social programs, and making housing more affordable. The economy is a top issue for voters. The outcome of the election could hinge on which candidate can convince Canadians they have the best plan to address these pressing economic challenges. Section 5. The housing crisis, a defining issue. The dream of homeownership is slipping away for many Canadians. A severe housing crisis grips the nation. Soaring prices and stagnant wages leave many struggling to afford a place to live. Major cities like Toronto and Vancouver have become increasingly unaffordable. Even smaller communities feel the pressure as demand outstrips supply. This crisis has fueled anxieties and impacted the lives of countless Canadians. The candidates recognize the urgency of the situation. They propose various solutions to address the housing crunch. Mark Carney's Liberals emphasize increasing housing supply through investments in affordable housing projects. They aim to provide relief for renters and first-time homebuyers. Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives blame government regulations for driving up housing costs. They propose streamlining the building approval process and reducing red tape to encourage development and increase supply. Jagmeet Singh and the NDP advocate for a more interventionist approach. They call for a national housing strategy that includes building more social housing units and implementing stricter regulations on foreign buyers. The housing crisis has become a defining issue in this election. It highlights the growing disparities in Canadian society. The next government will face immense pressure to deliver meaningful solutions to this pressing problem. Section 6. Quebec's shifting sands. Quebec, Canada's second most populous province, is often seen as a political bellwether. Its unique history and culture make it a distinct battleground in any federal election. This time around, Quebec's political landscape is shifting, shaped by both domestic and international forces. Traditionally, the Bloc Québécois, a party advocating for Quebec's sovereignty, has held sway over a significant portion of the province's voters. However, recent polls suggest that the Bloc's support is waning. This decline can be attributed in part to the heightened focus on federal issues, particularly the economy and the threat posed by Trump's rhetoric. Mark Carney, despite his strong economic credentials, initially faced an uphill battle in Quebec. His lack of fluency in French and limited familiarity with Quebec culture were seen as potential liabilities. However, his campaign has gained traction in recent weeks. This is likely due to his strong stance against Trump's protectionist policies and his promise to stand up for Canadian interests on the world stage. Pierre Poilievre has also made overtures to Quebec voters, emphasizing his commitment to reducing taxes and promoting individual liberty. However, his ties to the Conservative Party of Canada, which has historically struggled to connect with Quebec voters, may hinder his efforts. Quebec's 78 seats in the House of Commons could prove decisive in determining the outcome of the election. The province's shifting political allegiances add another layer of unpredictability to an already tight race. Section 7. The Windsor polling incident. The 2025 Canadian federal election has been largely free of major incidents. However, a fire at a polling station in Windsor, Ontario, briefly raised concerns about potential disruptions to the voting process. The fire, which broke out at the WFCU Centre, forced the evacuation of the polling station and caused a temporary suspension of voting at that location. Thankfully, no injuries were reported, and authorities acted swiftly to contain the fire and relocate voters to a nearby polling station. While the cause of the fire remains under investigation, early indications suggest it was accidental and not related to any malicious intent. Nonetheless, the incident serves as a reminder of the importance of ensuring the safety and security of polling stations and the integrity of the electoral process. Despite the disruption, voters in Windsor remained determined to cast their ballots. Long lines formed at the alternative polling station as citizens patiently waited their turn to exercise their democratic right. The incident highlights the resilience of Canadian democracy and the unwavering commitment of its citizens to participate in the electoral process. Section 8. Celebrity voices join the fray. As the Canadian federal election heats up, it is not just politicians vying for the attention of voters. Celebrities are also increasingly using their platforms to weigh in on the issues and endorse candidates. One of the most notable examples is Canadian-born comedian Mike Myers. He has been a vocal critic of Donald Trump and his policies. Myers recently unveiled a "Canada is not for sale" t-shirt on Saturday Night Live, in response to comments from Trump and Elon Musk about Canada. The t-shirt quickly went viral, sparking conversations about Canadian identity and sovereignty. Other Canadian celebrities, including Ryan Reynolds, Seth Rogen, and Justin Bieber, have also used their social media platforms to encourage their followers to vote. These celebrities often highlight issues they are passionate about, such as climate change, social justice, and LGBTQ+ rights. The involvement of celebrities in the election has injected a dose of star power into the campaign. It has also amplified the reach of political messages, particularly among younger voters who may not be as engaged with traditional media. While some may question the influence of celebrities on political discourse, their involvement reflects the broader trend of Canadians from all walks of life engaging in the democratic process. Section 9, Potential Outcomes and Global Implications. As Canadians prepare to cast their votes, the world watches with bated breath. The outcome of this election will have profound implications. They will be felt both within Canada and on the global stage. The stakes are high. A victory for Mark Carney and the Liberals would likely signal a continuation of Canada's current course. This includes a focus on multilateralism, free trade, and progressive social policies. Carney's experience on the global stage and his commitment to international cooperation would be welcomed by many world leaders. However, his more cautious approach to fiscal policy and his focus on addressing climate change may draw criticism from those seeking bolder action. A conservative victory under Pierre Poilievre would represent a significant shift to the right. Poilievre's populist rhetoric, his promises of tax cuts and deregulation, and his skepticism of climate change policies would likely resonate with some segments of the electorate. However, his approach to governing would undoubtedly face opposition from those who view his policies as divisive and harmful to Canada's social fabric. The outcome of this election will shape Canada's relationship with the United States. The next Prime Minister will face the challenge of navigating the complexities of this vital but often fraught relationship. Balancing Canadian interests with the realities of its powerful neighbor will require deft diplomacy and a firm commitment to Canadian values. The world is watching Canada. The decisions made in this election will have lasting consequences for generations to come. The hope is that Canada will emerge from this pivotal moment with a renewed sense of purpose and a commitment to building a more just, equitable, and sustainable future for all.